Did I ever mention on the pod that I like glasses? It's on the pod now. Uh-oh.
Welcome to Hot Route Takes. We are about 2 weeks from the NFL draft, and we're going to give our top 5 offensive prospects that are not offensive linemen or quarterbacks. But first, we wanted to touch on a couple of things that happened recently. Christian, you want to hit on some of those?
Yeah, the biggest one to me was Jeffrey Simmons getting, the bag, a 4-year, $94 million contract to stay with the Tennessee Titans. Kind of blew my mind a little bit. Trying to see them get rid of David Long and a bunch of these good young guys they have and have hit on recently in these drafts. And they're kind of letting them all go out the door. Even A.J. Brown, another young guy they had. So I don't get, out of all of them, how this is the one guy they pick. We want him to be the front and centerpiece of what we're doing moving forward.
Yeah, I got you. If I was going to pick one, it probably would have been him just because of how dominant he's been. He's a great player, and this will be a player they can really build around going forward. I would hope they tear it down a little bit and ship Derrick Henry out, gain up these assets so they can make this rebuild happen. But, yeah, I was pretty shocked by that too. He got the bag. So, but another player, Saquon Barkley, denied his franchise tag and refusing to play. Is that a way to put it?
Yeah, he's pulling Le'Veon Bell. Should have paid him instead of Daniel Jones, but that's for another day.
So?
If you don't have Saquon out there at all, how good is Daniel Jones going to look this year?
Well, I hate the idea of overpaying a mid quarterback. I would have rather paid Saquon a decent contract rather than pay Daniel Jones $45 million a season. But they're already here. What are they going to do? Are they going to give Saquon a contract?
Who else do they have on the book? Dexter Lawrence is coming up.
Oh, they're up against Gap for sure.
Yeah, I know they got a couple guys they're paying, so I just don't know how you would get Barkley, but the running back market, man, and I
know.
What's Barkley really asking for behind closed doors?
I don't know, but paying
if it's anything like
contracts rough.
Christian McCaffrey's deal or somebody like that, or there's no way they can afford it or even put that on their books.
I wouldn't want to sign that deal.
Yeah.
Barkley has not proven himself to be a player that will stay on the field for you.
I think last season was his first full productive season without any big things coming up.
I also hate to say that. I'm also kind of curious going forward, these running backs, these high-profile running backs, after they get off their first contract, I wouldn't be surprised if we see more scenarios like this happen, and then Barkley just goes on a string of one-year deals, like 1 year, $9 million, 1 year, $10 million deals, just jumping around.
Yeah,
I could see something like that happening.
What the market looked like this year.
Yeah.
Except for not that much money, but 1 year 4 or 5 here, 1 year 3 here.
A guy like Barkley, everyone knows he's supremely talented. He's a freak athlete. He's one of the rarest athletes in the league. But the books kind of wrote on him. Doesn't have the greatest vision. He'll make some huge plays, and he's probably going to miss some games. He might miss the whole season on you. You never know. But I say all this to say he is a good player. But would you franchise tag him or give him a deal?
You have to pay him something. That's a different
you gotta keep
Giants
him on the team, right?
Yeah. Without him.
Gotcha. Yeah, I understand that.
So he helped Daniel Jones a lot at the beginning of last year. And then they took the carries away from him near, the halfway point. And then that's when Daniel Jones, I guess you can say, started providing more for the team and what helped him get the contract that he got.
I got you. That makes sense. But, whew, man, there's a price point there that has to hit for me to feel comfortable. Dude, I don't want to pay that man $10 million a season.
No, I would think if I was to pay him something, the max I would go and say, I don't know what their cap is, but 7-8 a mil
a year.
Yeah, no more than
Eckler
that.
Type deal.
No more than that.
Gotcha. Well, anyways, you want to get into this top 5?
Yeah, I'm ready. I got 5 guys. I actually had 6, but I finally took one off the list and moved some people around and got a pretty good 5 that I feel pretty good about going into, this draft.
Well, we normally go from the bottom up to kind of build that anticipation, but since this is a pretty uniform top, do you want to go top down? Maybe start at 1?
Oh, yeah, we can do that. I think people will be more surprised with the 4, 5, or maybe even the 3 guy than the 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Like you're saying. I think a lot of people knows 1 and 2 more than likely will be probably the same. We don't know each other's list.
Do not.
So I think with me even saying that, 1 and 2, I feel pretty
One should
confident.
be a lock for sure.
Yeah, 1 and 2 are probably a match.
All right.
So if you want to, you go ahead and start us off, and then you give your 1, I give my 1, just shoot it back and forth.
Yeah, no problem, bro. So at 1, I have, who else, man? Bijan Robinson. We're talking about an explosive running back, do-it-all, violent runner, which might ultimately be his downfall, honestly, because I can't think of anything else that's a negative on this guy other than he runs violently and is looking to run people over. But in my opinion, this is the best running back prospect since Barkley. No doubt. No doubt about it.
I agree with that. Him and maybe, I don't know, I wouldn't say he's like the Christian McCaffrey hype.
I think he's up there, bro.
You think he's up there with that hype?
I think Barkley was a better prospect than McCaffrey.
Christian McCaffrey, Heisman run, Stanford, backpacking the team. I can at least say with Texas, he wasn't the everything like Christian McCaffrey was for Stanford.
I don't know, bro, but I got some nuggets here to kind of back this. Over the last 2 seasons, Robinson evaded 17.4% of tackle attempts. That's the second best rate in the country among backs with at least 200 carries. He ranked 5th in broken tackle rate and 10th in yards per carry gained after first contact. In an era of which backs need to be part of the passing game, he caught 45 balls for 609 yards and 6 more touchdowns over the past 2 seasons, which ranked 13th in yards per route run amongst those 200-plus carry backs. So we're not talking about just a guy who runs downhill violently and is a very talented runner of the football, but also a guy who gives you great value on third down, and that's why I would be okay taking this guy in the first round. He brings you a nice passing down skill set.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much what you said. My number 1 guy is same guy, Robinson. I put down pretty much just bullet points on what I like out of this guy. I put, to me, contact balance is probably the best in the draft. When this guy's getting bumped by defenders, he's able to keep his balance, and a lot of these other running backs are, honestly, this whole draft is kind of small in general.
Yeah.
So it's hard for these smaller guys to keep their balance like he can. I put, where was it? Ability to positively affect the passing game, like you said, receiving, blocking. He does both pretty well. And then just athleticism, his explosion, speed, same things you hit it on. Other than that, I even put displays good patience to let the hold develop before going through. And then the only negative I really found on him was, to be really picky, maybe some ball security because he is 5'11". And I just put maybe needs to improve a little bit on the passing, like blocking. But that's me really picking at him to find something. But other than that, this is the best guy coming in easily.
Yep. Easily better than all the backs last year.
Yeah.
Better than that good 2020 draft that had Jonathan Taylor, DeAndre Swift, Cam Akers,
I don't know.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire. You're a Jonathan Taylor guy.
He's not better than Jonathan Taylor.
Woo, bro. I think he's easily better.
Not better than Jonathan Taylor. Can't do it, bro.
Easily, bro. I'm big on this guy.
Jonathan Taylor, bro. Monster,
Jonathan
bro.
Taylor going to bounce back this year?
Yes, if the Colts can figure out, this high-dollar offensive line could actually block Jonathan Taylor easily, bro.
All right. Well, should I move on to my second guy?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so my second guy was receiver out of Ohio State, Jackson Smith and Jigba. I think this guy is just your most well-rounded receiver coming out this year. He gives you a little bit of everything. I think his biggest plus is just his route running ability and his ability to catch the football. I had a couple comps here for him to kind of give you an idea of what this player was capable of. And the guy that came to my mind was Robert Woods. This is a player that isn't the most athletic. He's not the biggest either, but he will run crisp routes. He has a good understanding of leverage and zone concepts to know where to sit down and be open for his quarterback. And this is a guy that will be a slot guy, but also can play on the perimeter. And he's got some size to him. He's about 200 pounds. A lot of the receivers coming out this year are really small. You're talking about the running backs, the receivers. They are really small too. So this is really the only receiver that I think gives you the full package from day one coming out this year. But that's what I got on Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Yeah, at number 2, I have Jackson Smith and Jigba also. I actually have his height and weight here. He's 6'1", 196 pounds. Same thing I did with the last guy. Bullet points, best route runner in the class to me. Also, hands to ball skill is crazy.
Yep.
And then quality size with enough speed to win most foot races. Great body control and fearless over the middle of the field. I mean, at Ohio State, we see many plays where he's not worried about taking the shot. Even like you say, he's a smaller guy, but he doesn't really care to take that big hit.
He's big enough.
Yeah, the only thing that scares me, not really with him, he's easily number 1 wide receiver, but with every guy, I'm going to nitpick a little bit to just give some negative. Only 1 season of college production, lost nearly a full season in 2022.
Yeah, he was hurt like all year last year.
And then the only other thing is maybe like his first 2 steps, he doesn't create that separation easily. He's kind of got but his route running makes up for it.
He's not the most explosive player.
No, but I mean, best route runner in the class easily.
Yep.
And that's why he's number 2 for me.
Yeah, I completely agree, bro. I'm excited to see where he lands, man. I think he's a solid day 1 contributor, high floor type player. I think he's going to be good from the get.
Yeah, and I think unlike a lot of these guys in this draft, this is a guy that eventually could go to an outside role if he had to.
I agree. He's got the skills to play outside. It's just he's a little bit limited as far as winning downfield.
Yeah, but out of all of them, probably the most upside potential and easily day 1 starter.
I don't know about upside.
Well, I think he can only get better, bro.
There's another receiver I'll touch on later I think has a lot of upside. Not necessarily a better prospect or player in my opinion, but I think he has more upside. But anyways, it's my turn, right?
Yep, number 3.
Third player. My third player, and this might not be consensus or anything like that, but I'm looking for guys who can change the math offensively. They have to account for this player, and that's Darnell Washington. If you don't add a safety to the box or bring somebody in the box, it's like having another tackle out there, and you're going to be able to run the football. Not to mention his ginormous wingspan and what he can bring to you in the red zone, both from a running game perspective and a passing game perspective. I think this guy can greatly improve your red zone numbers as an offense. And one thing I think pretty much everyone knows about Darnell Washington is he's a freakishly large human being. And I got some numbers to prove that. So, first off, this is a tight end who's almost 6'7" at 6'6" and 5/8. That's the 93rd percentile of tight ends coming out. Weight, 264 pounds. That's in the 85th percentile coming out. Wingspan, 83 3/4 inches. 98th percentile. Better than 98% of tight ends coming out. That is crazy. Arm length, 34 3/8, 91st percentile. Hand size, 11-inch hands. Those are giant hands. 98th percentile. Now, we can get into some of these athleticism numbers. His 40-yard dash, he ran a 4.64, which is good for a big tight end like that. That's in the 79th percentile with all of those huge measurables. That is crazy to be able to run that fast at 270 pounds. His 10-yard split was 1.61, which is a good measurement for explosiveness and quick first step speed, 73rd percentile. Vertical jump, this one wasn't so great. But I wanted to add all of the numbers to kind of give you an idea of what this guy was athletically. But 31-inch vertical, I jump a 31-inch vertical, so 26th percentile. Broad jump, 122 inches, 86th percentile. So he's explosive still, just not with the verts. And then he ran a 4.08 second 20-yard shuttle, which was in the 97th percentile, and he put up 21 reps in the bench press, 59th percentile. So that paints a picture of this giant tight end who gives you plus athleticism and plus size and ability to block in the run game. Huge red zone target. What's not to like here, man? Why is this guy not easily a first-round pick in most mock drafts?
Yeah, but I was about to say, recently, though, he has been sneaking into a couple people's mock round drafts near the end. But most people are saying day 2 tight end. He's not getting compared to like these other tight ends.
I think he's easily better than Michael Mayer.
His production at Georgia hurts him. I think he only had how many catches this year?
Yeah, his production wasn't great.
That's what hurts him. If he would have had like these other guys, yards, catches, and stuff. But I'm with you. The potential's there. You just have to unlock it.
I mean, he's going to instantly be one of the best run blocking tight ends in the NFL.
Yeah, I agree. It's just where he lands, I think maybe can also play a big factor.
I'm a little biased here. I really want him to go to Miami. I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Because we'd have to trade up. Our first pick's 51. But in a situation like that where you got Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill are going to get most of the targets, and he's just going to get a target here, that's so perfect, man. I fail to see him falling out the first round, really. I just can't see it.
Somebody's going to fall in love with, everything you just listed just off of like what he did and size-wise. Not even the other stuff, what he does on the field, just what he is size-wise and test-wise.
Yep. Somebody's
going to fall in love. Say, hey, we're going to go get this guy.
No way that they don't, man. Really. But
number 3, I also have a tight end. I have Dalton Kincaid out of Utah. Man, I've looked at this guy, and the more and more I watch this guy play, I'm impressed. I am. I mean, there's a team, like you said, I'm biased, but I'd love to have them, but we don't need them as muchly as other positions. But some of the things I like about him is, this dude has excellent hands.
Yeah,
yes, he won't make maybe some of these difficult catches that you see tight ends go crazy over, but if it's in his range, he's coming down with it. Outstanding ball skills to hand, his body control, toughness. How he was in college is very easily could be transferred over to the NFL. And fairly explosive, explodes in, shows solid burst, especially with the balls in his hand. He's not going to blow you away without the ball in his hand, but once he gets the ball in his hand, that's where you see his speed come into play. Very decent vertical ability, can get up over defenders and make plays. The only big kind of like nugget that you keep dropping, he's only been credited of one drop in his whole college career. And I want that on the field. If you're only going to drop the ball once your whole college career, I hope that can transfer over to the NFL. But some negatives that I found maybe, if you really wanted to get picky, he's only played football dating back to 2017. He struggles to lock on his blocks correctly at the snap, but he does block linebackers very well. So you just have to worry about the bigger D tackles, D ends.
He's not the biggest guy.
No, he's 6'4", 246.
That's pretty big, but like if you're going to ask him to block a defensive end,
but I don't think
probably not.
This guy is going to come in the league, and I can say not to the extent, but be more of a Travis Kelce role tight end than anything else. They're not going to expect you to come out there and block. They're going to use you like we see the top tight ends, Darren Waller, Hawkinson, Travis Kelce. These are guys that...
Yeah, this guy is a weapon in the passing game. Yeah.
And with this wide receiver class maybe not being what people want it to be or what teams need it to be, that's where I think guys like him and these other tight ends, like you just said, Washington, are going to sneak up in this first round. And by, well, we ain't got the wide receiver here. Let's go ahead and just take this tight end that's got more of an upside than all these wide receivers that we can maybe gamble on.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
But yeah, he's at 3. I'm ready to see where he lands. I'm excited. I hope some reason he gets to 21 or, I think he's 21 and the Chargers can take him. But I'd maybe want a wide receiver just to help.
That'd be an interesting fit for y'all.
And then we have Kellen Moore coming in. He likes running the 2 tight end sets.
Talking about Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Gerald Everett, and
Dalton Kincaid.
Gosh, dude, that would be nice. That'd be nice.
I'm all in for it, but if they want to go get a speedy wide receiver, would like to see who they pick.
What did this guy run in the 40?
I didn't see. I kind of looked, but the only thing I got was his arm length, hand size.
Did he run?
I looked on the Draft Network. Shout out to them. They do an excellent job. And I didn't see any of his numbers on their website, but it could be he did it at the college and they just hadn't went back and added it.
4.7 40.
4.7.
So he's not explosive.
Yeah, that's what I
Darnell
said.
Washington ran a faster 40,
Yeah.
30 pounds heavier, but he still doesn't take away from what he can do on the football field. Should I move on to my fourth ranked player?
Yeah, you go ahead.
All right, so this is a player who I was talking about math changers when I talked about Darnell Washington. This is a guy who can be a math changer, but I wouldn't draft this guy with the idea of him being a feature role. This guy is like a change-up pitch, and that's running back Jahmyr Gibbs out of Alabama. This is a guy who gives you a lot on third down. This is a DeAndre Swift plus, if you will, in the passing game. He is an excellent route runner. He's got good hands, and he's quick and explosive. I think he's a really good player. My one concern is he's only 200 pounds, so this is not a guy you want to be a bell cow back, 3-down back. He's not a Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry kind of player, but as a second back, a RB1B that can come in and catch passes, be a weapon, line them out wide, run some routes, he's a really good player for that. So as long as he's drafted with the right intentions of using him as a auxiliary piece to the offense, not the vocal point of the offense, I think he could be very, very good. I do have some measurables and athletic testing to kind of give you an idea of what kind of player this is at the running back position. He's 5'9" and 8th. That's 25th percentile running backs. I'm not too concerned about height. It's more density for me with running backs. You got to be able to be dense and be able to take hits. And Jahmyr Gibbs is not that. His weight's 200 pounds at 5'9" and 8th, which is in the 14th percentile. He does have a pretty nice wingspan for his size and stature at 74 and an 1/8 inch wingspan, 46th percentile, 30.5 inch arms, 35th percentile, 9 1/4 inch hands, 47th percentile, and he did run a blazing 40-yard dash, 4.36 seconds, which is the 97th percentile for running backs, with a blazing 1.52 second 10-yard split, 83rd percentile, and he did kind of drop the bag a little bit with vertical jump with a 33.5 inch vert, 37th percentile. But I think that gives you a good understanding of what this player brings to the table. A little bit undersized, but he makes up for it with lightning quick speed and agility and quickness. Like I was saying, I think this is a third down specialist type back. He can play a little bit on first and second, but you're drafting this guy with the intentions of using him as a weapon on third down. Yeah. That's my opinion on it.
You can also, I think, at Alabama, he played a little bit of special teams.
Yeah.
A team that has struggles with special teams and need a good third down back, this would be a great pick for them.
Is that something you'd want to spend a first-round pick on?
Nah.
That's where I struggle with
one
it,
of these
bro.
teams later in the draft, they really fall in love with them, maybe. Till we've seen what Kansas City did it a few years ago with Clyde Edwards out of LSU.
Yep.
If a team really falls in love with them, possibly.
I like Gibbs more than him.
You could even
sure.
maybe, I know this is maybe far-fetched, but the Eagles trade picks, go down further in the draft in the first round, pick them up.
Yeah. If, you know,
a team like that I think is already built, and all they're missing is maybe a skill guy on the offense and maybe need some help on special teams.
if the Chargers traded Eckler and they drafted Gibbs, would you be upset?
I hadn't seen Spiller on the field, and I'm not a big fan of Josh Kelly. So I would maybe be a little upset, but then
I want something else
I'd want to know what we were getting
for Eckler.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if we're getting like a wide receiver for Eckler, and then we're adding this guy to the backfield, I'd listen. But if we're just getting like a defensive guy for Eckler, that's not going to help Herbert.
Some draft picks.
And some draft picks.
2027.
Yeah.
I'm just messing with you.
I don't know, man. But I'm going to go ahead and tell you one of the guys that didn't make my list. He was my number 6 guy. I do have a little nugget that I don't know if you found this or seen this about him. He never fumbled in college despite 530 touches in the SEC.
Jahmyr Gibbs? Wow, that's a really impressive stat. I did not see that.
I seen it. And I mean, you saying his size could be his only concern, but he's in, I guess you could say, the closest division to the NFL in college football in the SEC. And he's taken, 530 times have the ball in his hand and never fumble.
I hear that, and I know I was going to foil this with DeAndre Swift and kind of how his injury concerns popped up in the NFL, but DeAndre Swift had a little bit of fumbling problem when he was in college, but Swift's a bigger player than Gibbs by about 10 pounds, and he has a similar profile as a player as well. He's not quite as fast. I think he ran like a 4.45. Gibbs ran a 4.36. But Swift had about 10 more pounds, and I think his shuttle might have been better, but that's neither here nor there. Do you want to get into your fourth player?
Yeah, this one may surprise some people. I actually have Zay Flowers, wide receiver out of Boston College. I understand the size is his big concern. For a lot of people, he's only 5'9", 182. His 40-yard dash, though, was a 4.42, and vertical jump was a 3.5. I think Zay Flowers is kind of what you just hinted on with Gibbs. This is a guy that can not be maybe your 1 or 2, but come in and play the slot role and be your maybe third option on offense. And he'll be a real nice piece that you can add. I mean, an electric player in space, 3-level receiving threat, dynamic runner after the catch. He has the speed to score, I think, at any time. Equal skill at playing on the in and outside. They did it at Boston College. I understand that's in college. The only concern maybe is him going to the outside in the NFL at 5'9". But, I mean, let's see, tacks on plenty of yards after the catch. And I think he was a major part on Boston College's success with the offense that they did provide. Some of the cons, like I've done with every player, is the height, inconsistent hands on catching, strength as a run blocker. Height, weight could be an issue on 50-50 balls, and he has smaller hands than most. His hand size is only a 9.1/4.
Gotcha.
But the explosiveness and electric player he is at the wide receiver position and what offenses are becoming in the NFL is a good, sneaky guy that you can pick and become that.
Yeah. I agree with you, man. Zay Flowers is a good player. He didn't crack my top 5, but I do like him as a player. And if I had to pick between him, Josh Downs, Jordan Addison, Jalen Hyatt, some of the other receivers coming out this year, top prospects, I would pick him. I don't like this receiver class as a whole. I think it's pretty slacking overall. But Zay Flowers, I think if you're going to pick one of these smaller receivers, you got to have some kind of trait you can hang your hat on. It's clearly not size, but speed is what Zay Flowers hangs his hat on. I think speed translates. You're just as fast in college as you are when you're going to be playing NFL, and he's a good player.
Yeah.
He can do a good bit of things. However, I do like one other receiver more than him.
Oh, man.
I'll get to here. But do you have any other last words on your fourth player?
Yeah, Zay Flowers last till the Chargers pick. Please.
Y'all want to take him?
Somebody on offense for my guy, Justin.
Gotcha. So my fifth player is Quentin Johnson out of TCU. And I'm not super big on his play. I know a lot of guys have him as a top tier receiver. A lot of guys receiver 1. But I am not there with him. I think this is a guy who is supremely athletic, though. A really gifted athlete. He just has to marry up some of these things with his actual play on the field to show this athleticism that he has. However, I got some measurables for him as well. This guy is 6'2 3/4, which is the 76th percentile for receivers coming out. 210 pounds, 64th percentile, an 81 5/8 inch wingspan, 96th percentile. Arm length, 33 5/8 inches, 91st percentile. Hand size, 9 5/8, 68th percentile. and dude jumps out the gym with a 40.5-inch vertical, 93rd percentile, and a 134-inch broad jump, 97th percentile. So this is a really athletic guy. I mean, we're not talking about just any athlete. This is a freakishly athletic, big human being. And he gives you a lot from an athleticism standpoint, but he has to get a little bit better with his hands. That was the main thing I saw in film, is too many times dropping passes or letting ball get to his chest and then not catching the football. So if I had any gripes, that would be that. But this is a guy who can pretty much fit any offense. He can play your outside receiver. This isn't a guy with many limitations. So I could definitely see this guy going earlier than Washington, see him going earlier than Jackson Smith and Jigba. I just think he's got some cleaning up to do. He's a little bit more of a raw prospect than those guys, but he's a higher ceiling, lower floor type player in my eyes.
Yeah, I looked at him and I kind of had the same problems you did, just his inconsistency with like the catches. But other than that, I mean, the size. A lot of NFL players will see, not players, but coaches and GMs will see that and be like, we can work with this guy.
Yeah, for sure.
And clean, like you said, do a little cleanup, and then he could fit on any teams, really. I mean, maybe if Tennessee stays at 11, that'd be a good fit for him to go, and they draft another young wide receiver to go to Tennessee to help with their, they don't want to call it a rebuild, but their rebuild.
Yep.
My last guy is Tajay Spears, halfback out of Tulane. This is my running back too. To me, he really is. His height's 5'10", 201.
Hot take.
This was a guy that was on a team, not this past year, but the year before, that was 2-10, and they turned it around, went to the bowl game, and beat USC. But, I mean, that as a team, but him as a player, I just love his speed, the quickness, agility, his vision, ball security, balance. And he has excellent speed. He has absolute burners to me, and he's an ankle breaker. And when people touch him, he keeps his balance. He's just a hard runner, physical guy. Let's see. Runs well between the tackles. To me, in space, I mean, you can turn on his film, you will see it yourself. When he's in open space and guys are trying to bring him down, he's just a mean runner. I mean, he breaks tackles, and he's a great kid from what I've kind of looked into and looked at and heard on interviews. Great kid, very humble, and a great worker. He positions himself very well, very quick to recognize when he needs to pick up defenders and protect for the quarterback. The only cons I see for him is when he does pick up for the quarterback, he does chip block a decent amount. But, I mean, how many teams, I understand the running backs do need to protect the quarterback, but I feel like the league as a whole is getting the running back more on routes and more explosive plays. But to me, this guy has a high ceiling. He does have a couple injuries, I believe, that scare a lot of people off of him. But after seeing what I've seen on tape and just last year his production, I believe that this guy is easily going day 2. And maybe you will like hearing this, but I think this would be a good fit for maybe Miami. Bring him in for actually a running back 2 spot, since y'all didn't really do anything in free agency, but bring guys back. And you've already shown that your running back room can't stay healthy, so you bring in a guy like this that has that explosiveness that can help, maybe a Raheem Moister or a Jeff Wilson.
I got you. So Tajay Spears, I'm a fan of this guy. I'm not quite as big of a fan as you are. I do think Jahmyr Gibbs is the better player, but that's not to take away from Tajay Spears. He's a very good player. This is a very explosive runner, very fast, and very high levels of change of direction ability. Very competitive and instinctual runner as well. But there are some miles on his legs, and he does have torn ACL in 2020. Like you were touching on, I do wish he was a little bit more involved in the passing game at Tulane. That would increase his value a lot. I think really he'd be right there with Jahmyr Gibbs in my book is, if he did have that to his resume, the passing down skill set, be able to block, all of those things. But if you foil those concerns, a third down skill set with him being a little bit undersized and the injury concerns, I can see a recipe for him not working out, but just as well he could work out. So I'm a very big fan of him. In general, I stay away from drafting guys in the first round, running backs. Jahmyr Gibbs is kind of the exception because Bijan Robinson's a generational talent, but because Gibbs gives you that third down skill set and everything, that's why I was able to, talk myself into maybe drafting him in the first round. But I would say when I was digging through this, man, what really stood out to me is this is a very defensive dominant draft.
Yeah, it is.
There's so much defensive talent at the top end of this draft and offensive line. There's more quarterbacks in this year than in recent memory. So I just thought that was kind of interesting. I think this is kind of a lacking year for skill players.
I agree with that. And I think that's why we see maybe in free agency as many moves as we did this year with the skill positions.
Yep.
Because of this draft.
Yep. I would agree. Do you have any final thoughts? Words?
Ready for these 2 weeks to go by till we can get to this draft.
Yes, sir. And I think we'll be dropping our top 5 defensive prospects next week. So stay tuned. Hopefully everyone enjoyed the pod. And come back and see us again.
Peace.